Hello there, and welcome to the Place to SOAR, where we make it a point to invest in the growth and development of people and helping you to soar as high as you want in your life. Today we have a most fabulous guest. Her name is Cherylle McFarland.
Yes, ma'am.
I met her very recently when Gail and I decided that we were going to get our life coaching certificate, and Cherylle was one of the wonderful people that we met at that event. So say hello, Gail.
Hello, everyone.
So this is Cherylle.
Hi, everybody.
That's a lovely, lovely lady. So I'm going to start off by reading her bio. Enthusiastic about bridging the gap between traditional and holistic medicine, Cherylle is an experienced RN, a healthcare administrator, and my favorite, a Reiki master and a certified life coach. She provides expert, compassionate, and quality nursing care in many clinical areas such as hospitals, community care for the chronically ill and physically disabled, in the foster care system, mental health, and for individuals with intellectual disabilities. She's very passionate about advocacy and empowerment. Yes. She integrates energy, healing, and wellness coaching, enabling her clients to experience emotional, physical, and mental balance. The client and Cherylle collaborates to develop strategies which will empower them to make informed and desired life, health, and wellness decisions for themselves and for their loved ones. She is also the founder of TNT Reiki in New York City. So I'm so happy to have you here, Cherylle.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
That was a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's funny when somebody else is reading your bio, right?
No. Really?
So tell us, who is Cherylle, other than what we just read here?
You know, I was thinking about that this morning, and I often don't think about who Cherylle is. And so I actually had to take a step back and say, who am I? So the easiest thing is to say, first and foremost, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. I have had fibromyalgia for 15 years and chronic fatigue syndrome, and that has catapulted me into being in a specific transition in my life. And being in this transition, I have definitely been able to discover myself and also know that I'm supposed to be here educating and empowering people. Yes. So my goal, that is absolutely my goal, that is absolutely my life purpose. And so moving forward, that's all I'm going to be doing.
Very nice. Yeah. So when we were at the certification class, you were like one of the first people that, you know how sometimes you go somewhere and you're in a situation, there's just like one person out of the crowd that you kind of really connect with. And that, for me, that was you. And I'm so glad that I know you. I've had the opportunity to hang out with her for lunch and all kinds of good things like that. So tell us a little bit about your journey. You mentioned that you've wrestled with fibromyalgia. I'm sure there are people in our audience who may have a similar situation. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Well, you actually said all the things I used to do. You know, you grow up knowing that, well, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be all these things. And so I did. So I knew I was going to be a nurse, I'm going to help people, you know, all these wonderful things. And so became my journey of which field do I fit in? Where do I fit? And all along the way, I just found myself fitting into advocacy roles where people can't really help themselves to the fullest. You know, as in foster care, you know, they can't really help themselves. Elderly, they need a little bit more. They need that push. They need someone to really give them, you know, a little extra help and a little nurturing.
Yes.
And I find myself in that capacity. And I found myself as an administrator because you're able to guide people, you're able to talk to people, you're able to create change, develop resources, develop policies to help people. So here I am thinking that I'm on this journey. And I've had, you know, I've had fibromyalgia for a really long time, let's say 15 plus years. Okay. And so all of this still pushing through. It actually took me 13, I'm embarrassed to say, 13 years to finish my master's, because whatever I do, I'm like, I'm an administrator, I'm gonna have my master's. I'm this, I'm gonna get the education behind it. So I pressed send, on my last paper, on my master's, press send 2-3 days later, I was out, sick like a dog, couldn't get up. And I was wondering why all of a sudden I can't move, I can't do anything. And people say, well, you know, the stress, the anxiety, and everything is over. Part of that's true. That's absolutely true. But the other part is I firmly believe that I was being guided to do something else, that was not for you. Yes. That is not for you, Cherylle, so I'm stopping you dead in your tracks before you get completely crazy and start doing something that is not for you. I always knew that with me being ill and me going to traditional doctors and me not getting the care that I needed, required, and deserved a lot of the times because of the lack of understanding behind the illness itself and the lack of belief in it a lot of times, that you're left not getting the care that you need. And you're still sick, and you're still having to prove to people that you're not well. And people look at you and say, oh, you look fabulous, but you're not sick. But that's not necessarily true, and that is not actually true at all for many people, and not even for me. And so what happened is I turned to holistic medicine in terms of trying to find alternatives for me that would help me. So my journey began a long time ago with me taking supplements and different things in order for me to get the healing that I knew that I needed. And just along the way I started learning things, learning about my body, learning about different things. I'm like, I need to share this. Because when you look at the cost a lot of times of holistic medicine and if you try to, it doesn't go into insurance, by the way. So then, you know, you're trying to find your health, you find your healing, and you get these, oh, this person is really going to help me. And you're like, what, $1,000 for your visit, what? And I'm like, I can't afford that, you know? And a lot of people also didn't understand about it. They don't know about it. They always think that I have to turn to my local doctor. This is what has to be done, you know, the traditional way of doing things. I'm like, how sad is that? You know, only if you have the means, if you have the resources, if you're in the know, can you get this type of care? And I'm like, how, that's awful. So how can I bring this to my community? How can I educate people on their choices, on their options, on things that just, I didn't know that existed, so I can explore things for me that might be better for me. How many people don't want to take their meds when they're ill?
Right.
You know? So is it correct to assume that there was a period of time where you were going to the medical profession, letting them know there's something going on? And so how did it come to be that you got that final diagnosis and you knew that this was what your situation was?
Fibromyalgia is a disorder of exclusion. So they don't look at you and just diagnose you. You know, say they have to say it's not Lyme disease, it's not a thyroid issue. You know, it's not all these other things that you know they can say is lupus or anything like that to say this is what's happening with you. So it's a disorder of exclusion. And because it's very murky and muddy and everybody doesn't really exhibit everything at the same time, certain treatments work for some people and work for some people in one way and don't work for some people in the other way. So it's really kind of tricky. But there are certain criteria that they have in order to diagnose it. And that's what happened. I finally was able to get to someone who would diagnose me. And then it was backed up by other doctors as well. You know, just to say, yes, these symptoms are consistent with what is written as fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. So I did all of that too.
And you know, it is really fairly new. I didn't hear about it until about 15 years ago. A friend of mine's had it, and basically it was a long process to for the doctors to come to the conclusion that it's fibromyalgia. Absolutely. And what it does to you, because I just watched my girlfriend, you know, she was like deteriorating, she was getting depressed because they couldn't find anything wrong with her. And she didn't know what was going on. And her husband, the stress that they put on him, not knowing. But once she was diagnosed, then there was a sigh of relief. Okay, now we know what it is, so how do we move forward? And the holistic part of it, we're always running to the doctors. But then now, you know, not until maybe 10 years ago, people started looking at other alternative and healing. And that's not bogged down by medication and the pharmaceutical industry. No pun intended, because I know you come from there. But,
I'm a nurse, so.
but still, you know, there's a different way for us to find relief
Absolutely.
and deal with our illnesses besides the medication part of it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So now tell me about the Reiki thing. I'm really interested in that.
Well, actually Reiki and receiving Reiki actually catapulted me into where I am also. So I knew I had to be something holistic. I knew that was part of the journey. I knew that I wasn't well. But at the same space and time, I also knew that something was happening to me. There was a transition. People get depressed. I never really lost faith. I always knew that this was for a reason, not really understanding what the reason was.
Yes.
But I knew it was for a reason. So I firmly believe that I'm spiritually guided to do this work, and Reiki catapulted me into just more, opening me up more into understanding myself, understanding my purpose more, and it also alleviates pain. Absolutely, it decreases the stress, it decreases the anxiety. What Reiki is energy healing. It allows you to, it works with your energy and your energy field so that your body can heal itself. People turn around and say, you're putting the roots on me for my Caribbean people. I'm not, I don't have time for that. Or we're taking something from you. A lot of people feel that with Reiki, I'm taking your energy or whatever. If you really don't have an understanding, all it is if you know that we're comprised of energy, our cells are energy, our surrounding is energy, so all it is manipulating that flow so that you can heal yourself. That's all it really is. And there is actually data that supports the benefits of it. You know, there are people who don't like it. There are people that don't believe it. There are people that say it's quackery. And to that, I would say, well, then it's not for you. Or open up and look for it. But for those people who are looking for another way to heal, that's an option. You don't have to do, there are options. My goal is to educate so that you have options, you have choices. And Reiki is not the only form of energy healing. You know, when we do holistic medicine, we have Reiki, we have acupuncture, we have Qigong, which I just read an article that is really phenomenal for Reiki, and Tai Chi for Reiki. There's so many different things. For chronic illnesses and for fibromyalgia. It's so beneficial. And people just need to be aware that there are options, and that's all there is. You can use Western medicine. I'm not against it because I still go to the doctors. I still have to do what I need to do for myself. But on the second hand, I also want to see, well, what else is there for me? What else will open me up and heal me in the way that I know to be healed? And with Reiki and with this transition, I had to look at myself on the inside. What is causing this? If I'm on all of these medications, none of them are working. This is what the doctors say to take. It's not working. This is what, even when I do holistically, it's not working. When other people it works for, why isn't it working for me? So I had to dig deeper. I had to look at myself and I had to say, well, why? Is there another reason? And I had to look, and one of the things that I noticed is that I was going through a process of transitioning, a spiritual awakening, a spiritual change. And with that, the symptoms mimicked fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. And I was like, now that makes more sense to me, especially with what I knew intuitively what was going on with me. I didn't know that I was empathic, which means I absorb people's energies, good, bad, and different, and it impacts me physically. I didn't know that, so I had to learn how to block that out, had to understand what was going on with me. I wouldn't have known that without Reiki. I wouldn't have known that without going through this journey. If I hadn't gotten sick, I wouldn't be where I am. So I look at this as a blessing in disguise. So it's really a great thing.
So you mentioned being empathic. Can you talk, that sounds very fascinating to me. So can you expand on that just a little bit?
That just means you are someone that's really sensitive to energies and you absorb them.
Okay.
And you can actually sense people's emotions. You can actually feel pain. You can actually feel different things, and it makes you feel sick. And it can make you feel sick. And there are actually ways that you can protect yourself and block things from happening to you, because you're aware of it now. Because I'm aware of it now, I can pick up things and say, wow, that doesn't feel good. What's going on? What's going on in my environment? What is going on with someone else, or my interaction with someone else, that's making me feel sick that I wasn't aware of? Even the people that I would love and know and I'm around, a lot of times, you know, the way you feel, you know, you have to really pay attention to that. Why is this person, something about this, when I get around them, I'm not feeling so good. What's going on? You know?
How
That's
can
fascinating.
how can you block it? The negative energy. Can you explain that to us?
How do you block it?
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of ways of blocking it. The simplest way is, for me, is you're really guarding your solar plexus, and you're guarding that area of your body, because that's a portal. So right in here, that's the portal of where energy can actually come in. So I find that if I'm in a situation where it's very uncomfortable for me, I can just kind of relax and block that, and it'll be okay. The other thing that I do is kind of just visualize me being surrounded by specific light and specific bubble in a protective nature, and I do that. Then the other thing is me knowing how certain people are. See, that awareness, if you know that you're going to be with someone around that way, then you're deciding that.
Yeah.
So I'm making the decision to be around you, which means I know how you are. So I can choose to be around you or not. So because I'm choosing to be around you, I'm also choosing how I want my body to feel when I'm near you. So that means I'm automatically saying, well, what am I going to do to protect myself and make sure that I'm okay? If I know that you're mean and miserable and nasty, well, I don't have to entertain that. I know how they are, so you know, I don't have to absorb that. I don't have to take that on. So it's also switching how you think. It's changing how you look at things in order to move forward with your life, so that you're okay. You know, it's not necessarily cutting somebody out, but it's all about changing your perception of things so that you're okay.
That's very interesting. One of the phrases that Gail often uses is that sometimes there are people in our lives that we have to learn to love from a distance, because having that distance is sort of protecting you from whatever damage this person has the potential to kind of bring into your life. So I can definitely understand what you're talking about.
Absolutely. It's a decision. You can put somebody at a distance, physical distance.
Yes.
You can choose to do that, but some people may not want to do that because of the relationship.
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
it might be changed because of it. But then you just have to figure out yourself, and you just have to understand your own boundaries.
Exactly.
And how you want to then relate to that person. So for some people, it's like, I don't want to deal with you anymore. That's it. There's some people, I can go to lunch with you, and that's it. I don't have to talk to you every day. And then there's some people you can be around, and you're like, all right, I can handle this because I've done me.
Yes.
I've made sure that I'm okay, and whatever's going on with you is you, and that's it. And I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, I just had a situation where I just walked into something at the hospital, and I almost lost myself, and I had to walk right back out because I felt like I was going to hurt somebody, and I had this gut feeling. So my question to you, have you ever felt that way, where you walked into someplace and said, oh, something's not right, I'm feeling it, and just walk out?
Have I actually just walked out?
I know it's a crazy question.
No, it's not. It's not. You know, I call those spidey senses. Your spidey senses were tingling, and you had to leave.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's what you needed to do. In terms of me just necessarily having to walk out of something, yeah, absolutely. So it might not necessarily be a building, but it might be a space.
Yes.
It just might be a space.
Yeah.
I'm not like, you know what? It's all right. I just don't like this, and I don't want to be around it, and it's okay. So yeah, I've actually had to do that.
So I like the way you framed it up also, because you use the word boundaries.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times we have difficulty with establishing boundaries that are beneficial for us to be in a good place. I found myself in the past in sort of relationships with individuals where the boundaries look one way for me, but something different for this other individual. So then you kind of get to that point where you have to figure out, like what you were saying earlier, you have to figure out, how can I interact or be in this relationship with this person and maintain that relationship with this person without destroying myself in the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have, and it's hard. It's, because, it might be a work relationship where we're depending on that money in order to pay your bills and to live. So it might be that. And so it's really about understanding yourself, and it's understanding how to navigate the situation and navigate those boundaries so that you are okay, and letting that person know where you stand. And sometimes it's really not easy. It's not easy for me all the time. My husband and I were just talking about that, because he's someone who, he can do that easily. Nope. Nope. And my son is learning and he can do that. And I'm like, I didn't really quite like that no. And then the next time is no. But the first time, you should have known that it was a no. So it shouldn't take 2 or 3 times before somebody understands where your boundaries are.
Yes.
So it's something that you can delicately say up front. That's just not the way I need this relationship to be.
Exactly.
And so that was growth for me, to just I'm a lot better at it, of course, but that was something that I really had to take steps in, because then you can turn around and have pity parties. Well, I didn't like this and this. Well, you set that up. You didn't create that space for yourself so that you'd be okay. So I had to take ownership for things, and I had to look at different things and how I can change me in order to change my outcome.
Yes.
And that's really key, because everybody looks to wanting to change somebody else, and they need to do this, and they don't have to do nothing. They don't owe you anything. They don't have to do anything. Why are you expecting that? They are who they are. You are who you are. You can choose or not choose to be around them or near them, to interact with them. It's all how you look at things, and it's the story that you make up regarding that. So that's how that goes.
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about coaching, and how coaching, because as I mentioned to our audience earlier, that's how we met, was getting our coaching certification. So can you talk a little bit about everything that you've just talked about, and how coaching fits into the model that you've created?
It's huge. It's huge because, with energy healing, you're dealing with the whole body. You're dealing with your emotional self, your mental self, your spiritual self, your physical self. You are doing all those things. But at the same time, there are often things in the root that are a lot deeper that people have to work through. Like for me, I knew it was a self-discovery, and I didn't do it by myself. I had to reach out. I have a mentor to do that with. I had to go to, therapy for that. There's a lot of prayer, and there's a lot of hard work to try to figure myself out. So when someone, I believe, comes to Reiki, my goal is to not have them dependent on me to be okay. Yes, I want you to come back, but I'd rather you be okay and come to me for a tune-up and refer 2, 3, 4 friends. So my business keeps going, and everybody else is healthy. Because what happens is that you want people to be all right. You want them to be empowered and leave with the tools that they need to have in order to manage their lives outside of here.
Yes.
Nothing worse than going for a massage. You're feeling all good. Then you go back to that stressful situation, and your back hurts again, your head hurts again. Right? But then you didn't deal with the stressful situation, and that was the root. What was it about that situation that you didn't handle that brought you to this level? So how can you change that so that you can go through your massage and come back and be okay and work through it and do what you need to do? So I really feel that coaching is really huge with transforming yourself and getting out of your own way, and actually seeing some of the things that are blocking you from moving forward, and you taking an active role and changing it. So that's important to me.
That's so true.
Yeah, and when I think about my reasons for going to get the coaching certification, very similar to what you just said. And just sort of helping people to get to that place. That's why our thing is step out and redesign you. Helping people to kind of get to that place where you begin to realize you have more control over your life than what you think you do. Absolutely. And a lot of times it's you that you got to move out of the way in order to discover who you are. Absolutely. And some of the things that you may be doing in terms of sabotaging yourself with your relationships and just different things like that. and everything. So that was really nice the way you summed it up, because it's pretty much the same for me.
And I
in that
like
same
how
way.
you said, to get them to work on changing themselves.
Yes.
Not you.
I can't
Not doing everything for them, but that's the whole thing about the coaching, is empowering them to focus on them and what their goals are, and let them find the path in order to reach their goal.
Absolutely, they have to create their own tools, or else you're setting yourself up for failure. Because if I give it to you, that's my way.
Yes.
That's the way I think. But if you've come up with things that will work for you, you're more inclined to follow that.
And it can be more satisfying because you've achieved something yourself. Not me going to Anita and Anita fixing it like, oh, I got this. And
then you still got to go back to Anita.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you didn't figure out how to do it yourself.
But changing that mindset to do it yourself, and it's more powerful and satisfying.
Absolutely.
When you reach your goals, it's like,
you're
I
more
did
empowered.
it.
You're stronger.
I did it. Let me tell you, my girlfriend, you go to her and she'll show you how to do it too. Exactly. But it's just so important that we empower people so that they can reach their goals, because if everybody did it, we can be more powerful people.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Powerful community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More of an awesome society.
So tell me, out of the list of core values, I'm very proud of our core values, by the way.
Great. Great.
You told me that there were a couple that really, I thought that was great when you said that, because it's like, that's
really
good.
Just one? Really, there are a few.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what resonated with you.
Well, the first one was transition. Because of the transition, I'm able to understand where I am in this journey, understand my purpose, understand what my gift is. I didn't know that I had, when you say I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to help. I didn't know that I had the gift for healing. I didn't know I was intuitive. I didn't know the impact that I had on people. So it's just a huge enlightenment period for me, self-realization, and it's just a fantastic thing. And all of that brought me to coaching, meeting you guys. So it's the truth, and because of that, I'm just able to give back to people, to share with people, so that they'll be stronger on their journey. They'll be able to follow whatever they want to, however they need to transform. That's what we're going to work on. That's what we're going to do. So that's really huge to me. So that's how all your values fit into just me.
Excellent.
You know what? In that discovery process,
huge.
It's people don't understand how important that is, to discover who you are and what you actually want for your life. It's so important. People don't understand that.
Absolutely. You got to do the work. So it doesn't, sometimes it comes to you, not going to say it doesn't, but sometimes you're rudely awakened, like I was, like, really, wake up, girl, you're not doing what you got to do. But, it still required work. While I knew what I had to do, I still know that there's more.
Yes.
So I'm just I'm at the beginning. So I really know that I have a lot more to do, that this is just the first step, the first few steps, because there's so much more. So, I will be writing about this. You're a writer, you love it, so I will be writing about this journey so that I can share it and people can read it and benefit, hopefully, from it.
So one of the things that we didn't, and we're almost out of time, you have a Reiki studio? Or a Reiki company? Can you quickly tell people, like, if I want to have a Reiki session,
you contact
what do I do?
TNT Reiki. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm on Yelp. And I have a website, which is www.tntreiki.com.
Excellent. Because I'm coming for my Reiki session.
Awesome.
I can't wait. So we're just about out of time, and I just wanted to thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Sorry about
me.
the mix up with the train. And
that's no problem. I'm here.
and all of that. So to our audience, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us and just kind of checking us out at the Place to Soar, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.